Hello and welcome. I'm Les Bubka and you're listening to Accidental Podcast or something like that. Today I have a pleasure to talk to Jamie Gray from Scotland, one of my biggest friends who will not miss a chance to pick on me and Matt Jardine and tell us how short we are. He's the owner of Musashi Karate School and he seems to be known by everybody. Everybody knows Jamie. How are you, women?
I'm very good, thank you, Les. Thank you very much. Yeah, how are you? Hope you're well too.
I am very well. Did I say that properly? Because you're using that all the time, women, and I don't know how do you say that properly.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I didn't even notice, to be honest. I can't understand the word you're saying. I'm lip reading and it's no idea. It's just because your mouth's so small, you know. It's I don't know, similar to Matt Jardine's.
Yeah, I used to have my tube and speaking through the megaphone.
Yeah.
Jamie, 50th episode of my podcast.
Wow.
Thank you very much for coming on it. I didn't expect having so many, but here we are. How are you? And can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I read the article, but I've got a very good memory, but very short. Maybe you could refresh my memory, the people who are listening.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thank you very much for asking me. And the 50th one, that's absolutely fantastic. What a milestone. And you know, I really enjoy them. It's the kind of thing that I'll put your podcast on when I'm working away and I'm listening to it in the background and you know, picking up little snippets, and it's well worth it. It's really interesting. Some of the people you've had on across a wide range is fantastic. So I feel really honoured to have been asked, especially the 50th one. That's obviously the most special one for tall people that you've put on. So yeah, a bit of background about me. I'm a part-time martial artist. I'm not a full-time martial artist. It's something that's I've been involved with pretty much all my life. I started in the late 70s in judo at a local club. The instructor at that time left through work, and the judo club was replaced with a karate club. That was around about 1982. I went along to it because it went down there every week, went along to the karate club, thought, what's this about? Give it a shot. On the way home, I started getting a cramp in my leg. By the time I got home, both legs were cramping in the front and the back, so you couldn't stretch them out. I hurt all over my body, and it was one of the greatest feelings I think I've ever had at that time, and I was totally hooked. And the club at the time ran 3 nights a week, twice in the town I stayed in and once in another village. So I went to every single class. I would do an hour's training before the class, go to the junior class, train at the back while the juniors are training, train in the adults class, then go home and do an hour of training over the stuff that I was just absolutely fanatical about it. I loved it. It was something that was mine. I enjoyed the just the whole training, the whole aspect and the whole learning of it. It was great. During that time, obviously through the 80s, I cross-trained. There weren't many clubs around at that time where I stayed, southwest Scotland. So I would join into an Aikido class, join into a Shotokai class, a Shotokan class, and basically anything that I could go along to help with my core karate. So right from the word go, you know, I've kind of cross-trained and all the way up through the 80s with the one club. We did a bit of competition. We were not affiliated to, but we worked really closely with and trained with alongside. My instructors trained under Pat Mackay, who was world champion at the time in Kilmarnock, and we used to go up there and train with him in his old Masada club in the early 80s, mid 80s. We did the competition circuit. My only really claim to fame, I wasn't very good at competitions, was perhaps in 1986. We a team event. We were the North East England Open champions. And I think the last competition I entered was an inter-club one in the, when would that be, early 90s, and I got disqualified for heavy contact in the first round. Terrible. But actually, the guy I fought is a really good friend of mine. We still stay in touch, and he a very, very good martial artist, and he comes down to the club, and at the time he was in a different club. And I've kind of dabbled in. Karate's always been the constant that I've always had training, but I've kind of dabbled alongside it in different arts because I think there's a lot of crossover. In the trying to think of history-wise, in the early 90s, mid 90s, our club had shut down, and I'd got in touch with a guy from another club that we used to train at, who had broken away from his club, and there was just a small group of us, I think about 5 of us in total, all black belts, but I was brown belt at the time, and I was a brown belt for about 9 years, and I went through my black belt with him, and there was just, like I say, a group of 5, we all trained together. We weren't a part of any association, we weren't part of any group, we didn't do sport, we focused on applied karate. We did some kobudo as well, weapon stuff, who we learned under Stephen Chan and Kirby Watson. And it was a really good, we trained for 2.5 hours at a time, 2 or 3 times a week. And it was just a really good bunch and a real learning curve all the way through the 90s. Again, as what happens, the chap that took that retired, we kept it going for a wee while, and eventually through work fell apart, and I started doing kickboxing and ground fighting at a local martial arts club, Wasobama, that had opened up. That was my first kind of introduction to, apart from the judo, to proper ground fighting, and I was terrible at it.
I was gonna ask, how did you find it with your size, rolling around?
Complete fish out of water. I was a great kicker when I was younger. I was a good puncher. I can move for the size of me. I like to think I'm pretty quick. Got on the ground. I was terrible. So I persevered, and it was an eye opener. And training with the likes of Scott Beattie, Andy Wilson, these guys down there at Wasobama, I learned a lot, and I still to this day incorporate some of the training methods from the ground and stuff, that the drills that we did and the principles. And now as you train with more people, you get more and more knowledge. They start to make sense, and you start seeing them in kata, you start seeing them in karate, and it was always there, just never practiced. So I was with them for a few years, and then I started. How did I get back into there was another karate club started at the gym I was at, and I had kids at the time, and I thought, well, it'd be great to get the kids involved with it, and part of I suppose part of the deal at the time was I took the kids along, got talking to the instructors. They said, "Oh, do you do karate? Do you want to come and join in with us?" "Oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'll come and do that." To cut a long story short, it was freestyle. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but it was great for the kids to get started. And I helped them out with some classes. I taught the instructors some traditional karate. I helped out in grading panels, and they allowed the kids to train for free, which was great. Being Scottish, really tight, that that made a big difference. And after a wee while, part of the club, we set up a traditional class. Guys that used to train with me years ago came along to that, and we eventually decided to break away and just do break away from the freestyle organisation, teaching traditional and form Musashi. And we built the syllabus. At the time, I'd started training with Ian Abernethy. So this is probably about 13, 14 years ago, I think, maybe. And I was going along to Ian's seminars, going down and training with him. I went through Ian's instructor program.
So you started the training with Ian Abernethy, but as well, what's about the karate? Why did you stay with karate? You've got so many different experiences, and
well, I just always liked it. I like just the development that's within karate is fantastic. And the more and more I train with it, and the more and more I trained elsewhere, I would see karate in what I was doing. Maybe it wasn't karate; it's just martial arts. At the end of the day, I suppose. We've all, if we're lucky, we've all got a head, a body, 2 arms, and 2 legs. There's only so many different ways we can move. The martial arts are what we all do, but labeling it karate, labeling it Aikido, labeling it kickboxing, Tai, whatever. It's just different styles, I suppose, of a martial art. And the more you look into it, especially when you start delving into kata and application, the more you look into some of these other styles or martial arts and how they do things and how they build things, you start to see similarities within what we do, and it's opened up a wide door. I like the idea of the structure of the karate. I like the idea of the kata, the analyzing. I like the fighting side, and the throws and the groundwork in karate. It's just always been the constant for me. I don't know if you could call it karate. If somebody looked at me doing it without a gi on, they might just say, "Oh, it looks like he's doing kickboxing and ground fighting. Looks like he's doing judo. Looks like he's doing savat." It could be. It's the gi that makes it karate. I kind of like wearing the gi as well. It feels as though I'm doing it.
It feels good, isn't it? It does feel good.
Yeah.
So how did you found the practical side of it? Because you're a full qualified instructor under Ian, aren't you?
Yeah. So again, this goes back to the 90s, before I even met Ian, and very much before I was doing the kind of 3K karate, kata, kion, kumite, and we were competing, doing a lot of sports stuff, and I went to train under Louis McComb, who was the chap in the 90s that we trained with, and he was very much. He was training. He was training with Alexis Stephen Chan, Kirby Watson, in Aiki Jiu-Jitsu, one of the traditional forms, Kobudo. And when we were training, we trained really hard. We did a lot of conditioning work. We did a lot of full contact fighting. We looked at the katas and we started trying to understand what they were doing in there, but we didn't really have a method or a formula or a clear, concise understanding of the principles when we were doing it. Ian he was the first instructor I came across that really had that nailed down, and it made sense. Looking at the principles of the kata and then understanding it and making it fit you, not making it fit. There'd be no point in me trying to make it fit like yourself. I needed to fit me and what would work for me, and taking that principle and fitting that to me made perfect sense to me, and it helped just click with things. And also, part of that, I was boisterous when I was younger. I used to get into fights and stuff, and I worked the doors for quite a few years in the town, in pubs and clubs and stuff, and the practical side was always something that was really important. Back in the early 90s, the town I stayed in, Ayr, was at one point murder capital of Scotland. It was quite a violent place. There was a lot of drugs, and the kind of rave scene was about at the time, and there was a lot of trouble. And working the doors, we came across a lot of that, and the club in the 90s just seemed to fit that perfectly. We fought a lot, we fought hard, and we were exploring. But so the practical side's always been there, away from the sport.
Excellent. Now, the most important question: how did the martial arts, or karate in particular, impact your mental health, or is it still impacting it?
It's been the one constant in my life for many years, since I was as a young child, and I never really had any kind of issues when I was at school age or things. But as I left home quite early, at 18, I didn't get on great with my parents, and I struggled a wee bit when I left. And the one thing, I used to self-harm, and I haven't really talked about this before. The one thing that I would look forward to would be those 2.5-hour training sessions. The hard full contact training, and by people far superior to me that would throw me about like a rag doll, but it would take my mind off everything. It would the thing I look forward to every week. It was the thing that would drive me to train harder, to take more punishment, to give more punishment, to learn, to move up, and to push on. And I think that that has followed me all the way through. The black belt was one of the hardest things that I went through at the time, or the training up to it. And afterwards, and looking back, it's a mindset thing. It's overcoming that adversity, and still to this day, especially in the current circumstances with the lockdown, through work I travel a lot normally. I can be away 2 or 3 times a week in different countries, and moving about, and I enjoy that aspect of it. I've pretty much had a full year stuck in this small room, abiding by the laws of the lockdown. I don't go out very much. I'll take the dog a walk. We haven't been able to train, and the thing that's kept me going has been going out. I've got a shed built now for a dojo, and going out there and doing kata and focusing on the karate and the weapons, and that's always just been a switch off from everything else round about, and we've got a small group, and keeping in touch with these guys and watching them development, their development, and everything's been fantastic. It's something I think that will always be with me, and it's always been my leveler. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think for most, that's the one constant thing that people tell me, that the karate one constant helping them and being there. So as you brought that up and making us all jealous, looking at your Facebook, tell us about the shed.
Yeah, well, it's been something I've wanted to do for a long time, many years, and we had planned. It started off with planned. We were going to do our back garden. Hasn't been touched for about 12 years. We've needed to, kind of update it a wee bit, and we thought this year we would do it. When the pandemic kicked in earlier on, we took a wee step back and thought, oh, this is maybe not the right time to spend any money, just in case. We don't know what's going to happen. And it turned out my work's in a pretty good position. We've been okay, and we decided to push ahead. And one of the things was to get a shed built, as in the frame of a shed, in a size that would suit, and then for myself to kit it out, fit it out, insulate it, put electrics in, frame it out, and build it the way I would want it to look for training. And so we've gone ahead and done that, and I think my wife's really fed up now, because I don't see much of her. At first it was a novelty for her, but now she actually wonders if I still stay in the house. It's been great. It's been ideal. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, it looks great, and you're fortunate to have a room for it. I wouldn't be able to build it thing like that in my garden. Oh. So you mentioned your work. Is that due to your work, everybody around in martial arts, because you're traveling so much, so you're using that to your advantage?
But I do. It's not how I've met people. I do tend to do that. I'm lucky when I travel around. I take my gi with me, and I've got clubs dotted about, the UK that I'll pop into and train when I'm away. But for many years now, since I started teaching, and we started the club, we decided when we set the club up, first of all, there's a couple of things with the club. One, it has to be non-profit making. It's about giving back. I was really lucky when I was training back in the 90s. My instructor never took any money off us. We did charity stuff for the church hall that we trained in, but he never took a penny for training. And I have that kind of ethos going back. We take a small fee for to cover the rental of the school hall we have. Anything else goes to charity. We've always done that since we started. So that was one of the first things. The second thing was that we weren't going to compromise karate, because we didn't have to. We weren't going to enter competitions or do the tournament circuit. So we had to change the way we did things to win tournaments or to keep students for money. We would teach karate the way we wanted to teach it. And along with that, as part of my development, every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on what was on, I would go and train elsewhere. I would travel and I would go to another seminar, go and ask if I could join in another club or something. But for the last 10, 11, 12 years, I've done that every 4 to 6 weeks. I've made sure that I've pushed myself out. And it's generally down in England I've had to travel to, and gone and trained with other people. And I made a lot of friends, met a lot of people. I'm really open. I enjoy training. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy getting stuck in, but I enjoy having a laugh as well. And I think I've found very similar people throughout the UK Karate Network. And in turn, I get people visiting our club on a regular basis, which is great for me. It's great for my students. And we built up a lot of good, friendly associations, which really help. And also, it means I'm learning as well as teaching.
That's the good way of doing things, I think. What would be your key qualities for a good instructor in karate? Except being tall.
Ah, damn it! I have no idea. Well, I think it depends. For me, I'm not a full-time instructor. I still see this as a hobby, but I'm passionate about it. Initially, when I started the club, like I said, the kind of three main things were non-for-profit, we've got to keep to our traditional core, and I've got to go and travel. There was a last thing, and the last thing was that the goal of the club wasn't to have the biggest club. It wasn't to have the most world champions or me to have the highest Dan grade. Or the goal was to be respected. Initially, to be respected within our local community. And if the chance arose in our wider community and then nationally, etc. And respected in a term that we do what we say. We're open, we're honest, we train hard, and we train honestly and as best our ability. And that was one of the goals. So with that in mind, with instructing, I'm the first to admit I'm not very good with children instructing. I've always had a couple of instructors that have looked after the kids' class, and we've kind of whittled the kids' class down quite a wee bit now, because just when we first opened by word of mouth, because I've been training in the area for a long time, people that I used to train with were bringing their kids along, and we grew the club really quickly, and about 20, 30 adults coming every night, and it was just too big to actually teach properly.
Yeah.
And in the juniors, we had about 30, 40 kids, and it was just ridiculous. We're down to around about a dozen adults now and a handful of kids. And I've been the happiest I've ever been with that size. I think when you're teaching kids, you've got to have a lot of really special qualities. Same with people with disabilities or things. There's a different way of teaching. Because again, this is a kind of hobby club for me. We've got a small group. I've got a group of friends that have been training with me for quite a few years. We all get on well together, and we've got quite a relaxed atmosphere in the club, and patience. They've got patience for me, and I've got patience for them in learnings. I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm not a full-time instructor. I don't know what's a great quality. I don't think I've got a good quality. I've got any good qualities for being a full-time instructor. It's still my way of winding down and switching off from my day job. You would have to ask my students that. I don't know.
Good answer. I don't know what you've been talking about, but it's a good answer.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. What do you see the trends in now in karate? Are we heading to a renaissance of the practical karate? Is that growing in your opinion? I think it's growing, isn't it? Getting more popular.
Yeah, I certainly do. I actually think it is absolutely growing, but there's also a massive spike in the sports side of things, and the way that competition karate has changed. Not just the WKF or whatever you call it, the Olympic type stuff, but also in various forms of combat. The Kabuto and all the more kind of full contact ranges. There's more of that going about, but there certainly has been a massive shift to people analysing kata, looking at application stuff, and picking up weapons and starting to understand them. And clubs are getting more less Japanese traditional and more Okinawan traditional, and going back to the roots, I think, and I think that's great. I also think there's room for everything. It's up to the individual what they do and how they learn. But yeah, I think it's we're in a time where communication is really, really easy, and getting in touch with people, finding information and data and questioning is commonplace now, whereas it never used to be. You used to, you were told this is how it is, this is what you do, and you just blindly followed. Whereas now we have more access to information, which has made learning, whatever way you want to go, a lot easier and more accessible.
You mentioned that you're training with the weapons. Could you explain me what you find interesting in weapons? Because I don't get it. I don't like it. How exciting training with weapons? Maybe they're too big for me to handle.
Do you know? Maybe, again, it started back in the late 80s. We had the club we were in. We used to get Stephen Chan up and Kirby Watson, who are still training and teaching today. And
I think that Stephen got the knees changed now, so he's faster.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's 70-year-old, and he's he might be 71 now, and he's a phenomenally fit guy, very charismatic. He knows everybody as well, and he's got a fantastic memory for kata and stuff. Well, he used to come up and teach us bow kata, tonfa, kama, nunchuck, and to the club, and we'd to this day I still have a few of them in the syllabus, and I actually really enjoy it. It's a different feeling to doing a normal kata when you do the application as well. I think it opens the mind a wee bit. It helps you think differently about what you're doing and your positioning and the movement, and it's really interesting. I'm not one of these people to collect katas. When we're doing a lot, one of the styles predominantly were Shitoru, and they've got 70, 80 different katas, and you just spend all your time going round about in dizzy circles trying to remember them all. We've stripped that right down, and we've got a core kind of set of kata that we delve deeper into, and a couple of weapons kata, and I would encourage you to try it.
I did try it. I've got one bow in my garage, because one of my students, when he was started to Taisa with me, I said jokingly that I need a stick to encourage him to learn properly. And next session he brought one for me, so I've got one. So there you go. You can teach me better now. Do you have to have a different set of the weapons? So the bow is to the size. Are you so tall? Are you getting a bigger one, or you use matchsticks as I?
No, that's funny. Steve Lowe, who we both know, and is a very good friend, and I get in train with him when I can. He's got some weapons. He said to me one day, I think he's got a 7 or 8 foot bow. He says that's the bow you should be working with. But that would be like me saying, do you have a small one because you're smaller? A bow is a bow. A rokoshaku bow is a 6 foot bow. It doesn't matter what size you are. That's what you got to play with. A Jo is 4 foot. A shioshaku bow, Jo is 4 foot. So you work with that. You can use a pen or a pencil. It doesn't make any difference. It's a part of the learning with it is about coordination, body movement and stuff, and some of the principles in a weapons kata are very similar to that of empty hand, and vice versa, and some of them are slightly different, which you can take over to each side, which makes it interesting.
No, I've got the kind of few things like that. So I admire people doing it. Same with the Iaido and Kenjutsu. Yeah. I love watching it, but if I have to do it, it's just nah. No. I just don't feel it.
I think whether this is true or not, but I believe back in Okinawa, it was every Okinawan karate dojo. They did a bit of kabuto, and it was part of the training back then. And I quite like having a couple of katas, in the background that I can pick up a stick and play with it. and it's a skill. I'm still learning.
Yeah, but we all are. I just don't know. I cannot explain it. Just not. Give me a person to throw and stuff, and I'm happy. Give me a stick, and I feel out of place completely.
Yeah. I think, in fairness, one of the bad things about weapons, which I see all the time, and it's kind of unavoidable because of the nature of having a weapon, whether it's a stick, a knife, a sword, or whatever. You pull everything, or you become tippy tappy. You aim for the other weapon as opposed to aim for the person. Sorry, Michelle Enfield's just messaged me just now, so I'll just take a wee. I'll just say I'm getting interviewed by you just now.
Yeah, I had them on my show as well. There was a good chat as well. I do like them.
Just now. There we go. I'll send that wee picture. There we go. We're doing she contacted me a couple of weeks ago. We're doing a kata challenge to the end of the month. Every day we've got to go out and do some kata and post it on a wee kind of group. And there's a few people from all over the world on there, which is quite fun.
I've seen that Naihanchi disease is spreading.
Yeah. I mean, Noah's on the wee kata challenge thing as well. So he's been teaching her Naihanchi. She's loving it. Don't tell Paul.
So you said you're a Shuko guy. Is Naihanchi native for you or more Goju way?
Yeah, I don't kind of conform to any style now, but originally it started with Shukokai, and my instructor came from the Nanbu lineage of Shukokai, as opposed to the Tommy Morris lineage. So for a small while we moved to Sankakai and then back to Shukokai. Then when I moved to the other instructor, Louis, he took it back further and we started practicing Shitoru, the Tanihashi Toru, before it became Shukokai. So yeah, Naihanchi is part of that lineage. I still kind of keep the kind of core katas from there, the Pinan katas, Naihanchi, Basai, Ananko, Shio Kosuken as opposed to Koshanku, and Sienshin. We've got some Gojo katas mixed in there with the Toro lineage, and I think that's a good wee blend.
Good. I'm not alone now because I'm kind of from Kyokushin and then to unknown Russian styles. But we've got the Goju and Shotokan katas mixed up, so
yeah,
and that's not the one. So which one you prefer, Tensho or Naihanchi? And remember that people listening, so be careful who.
Naihanchi. I don't practice Tensho an awful lot, to be honest. But Naihanchi is one of the core ones. We start off with the Pinans, then the next one we do is Naihanchi. So I tend to do it a lot more than I do Tensho. But and in fairness, I understand a wee bit Naihanchi better than I understand Tensho. I'm still learning that.
I actually started learning 2-3 years ago Naihanchi. And I think it's a wonderful addition to both Sanshin and Tensho. I find that those three katas are the basics should be taught to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the three in our syllabus at different stages. The first one's Naihanchi, then we do Sanshin, and then we do Tensho. But yeah, definitely.
What made you make a decision on Sports Park Up, the decision that you are not aligned to any particular style? I'm finding myself now going through that change where I kind of left my original teacher, and although basics are of that style, but now I'm not subscribed to the style. What sparked up you to make that decision?
For me, it was very easy. Again, I've been with the British Combat Association for many, many years. Before that, I wasn't with any association. We're just a small group training. I had there was no pressure on me to do things a certain way. We don't do competition, so there's no need for me to be, you know, millimeter perfect on stances and things like that. And it was a very easy decision for me to de-style. The style of karate I do is this what fits me. How's the best way to describe this? We're principle-based karate, so I teach on principles. And for example, yourself, you're a completely different build frame height to me. When I do something, I shouldn't look the same as you. I shouldn't move as quick as you. I shouldn't operate the same way as you. And if you were to, for example, punch me in the face or punch somebody your height in the face, they would look totally different. But the style says it has to be this height. So making the karate fit you or fit me just seemed like common sense. Take the style label away, look at any karate you want, take the principle of it and apply it to a person, and then make that work. And that fits you, as opposed to trying to conform to an aesthetic, which is ultimately what the style is, you know, how it looks. And it was a really easy decision, and it's the way I teach as well. I teach the principles, I teach the way I want the katas done, the techniques done, the process and everything done. I teach that, and then for the student, they have to do it the way I say for a certain amount of time, and then slowly but surely, as they go up the grades, it starts to fit them, and it starts looking different. When my group do their kata as a group, they all look slightly different, and I think, in my mind, certainly in my club, that's the way it should be. They shouldn't try and force it into a way that's not natural for them to match a style or to look. I've got students that are, one will be 70-year-old, you know, in February. I've got students that are taller and bigger than me, quite a few of them. Oh, you've just disappeared.
Yeah.
Still there?
Yeah.
And I've got students that are smaller than you. I know that's hard to believe, and it's not mad, but so they all look different when they're doing things, but they're all powerful, and they can apply the actual moves, and that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, it definitely makes more.
So taking the style out of it's not a problem. We just do karate jutsu, and we follow the principles of karate, and we pressure test them, we apply them, it works, we can do the forms, it looks, we'll never win a tournament, or, you know, a kata tournament or anything like that, but the karate fits them, and they feel comfortable doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm on the same line of thinking. So, you know, as you know from my post, we've got lots of people with different abilities, and it just one bill doesn't fit all. You know,
Yeah,
I have to
exactly.
adjust, and some things people can do very well, the other ones can do not at all of it. So, you know, I've got the people with bad back, and they will never do jumping stuff and kicking high. And so, you know, you just have to think about it and change.
I think when you're in a karate association that's very style driven, Shotokan, for example, one of the big associations, there's a very definite way of doing things. There's a definite way of looking, and a definite way and requirements for grade or for competition, and that just doesn't fit everybody. But that doesn't mean that they can't do karate that fits them. And styles are a fairly new thing anyway, Les. You know, the styles are probably less than 100 years old.
Yeah,
you know, they had to create a style to conform with the Japanese way of putting everything into the, you know, what's that you're doing? Why is that different to his? What do you call your style? You know, and you take it right the way back. It wasn't styles; it was just karate, wasn't it?
Yeah. When I started, I started in completely different styles. So I went through 3 systems. Which first one was Shigeru Oyama, so Oyama Karate.
Yeah.
Then went to Seitedo Karate, and then I thought I'm never gonna be a black belt, because for a green belt the requirement Mawashi Jodan. My hips are not designed for that kind of just stuff, so I can't kick high. I can't kick my little head up the height of it, so I'm not even dreaming kicking you in the head. But I've been told that, oh no, you have to do that, you have to do that. If not, you cannot grade, which I think is completely wrong.
Yeah.
But then I found my teacher who've been able to adjust the system towards me, and here we are.
Yeah.
I'm quite averagey, okay karateka, and
Oh, you're very good. You're very good. Don't sell yourself short.
I'm still suffering with the younger brain inside. We will be kicking high. But the body reminds me that it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right now. So that brings me to the question: what's how to phrase it? What things your brain didn't catch up on your age? Because we all got the things that we are not able to do anymore. But from time to time, that 20-year-old inside goes, "Yes, let's do it."
Oh God. High kicking's one of them. I used to be a very good high kicker, big long legs. I could do the splits. I could hold on to my foot and hold it above my head, and I could use them. When we were doing a lot of sparring, and I was quite well known for it locally. Lucky if I can kick above my waist now. But every now and then, on the kick bag or when sparring, the old magic comes back, and then I regret it the next day. I think there's lots of things. I find I forget sometimes that I'm a wee bit older than I used to be, and especially in seminars and things, maybe going away and training for a full weekend, 6 hours a day, and then coming back and just the knee joints, the shoulders, the elbows, everything hurt. I get a lot of stick from my wife about it, but I still love it. Still love it.
I think that's the one thing, because I'm teaching a lot of let's say not so young, and especially if there is the people who've done martial arts before. I think that's the biggest challenge for them, to actually accept that the body is not able to do what they used to do, and that's why they're getting a bit more injured than the youngsters. Do you think that's kind of correct?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And I think my karate has definitely changed over the years. We tend to, and it's been like a natural progression. Younger, doing the competitions and sparring a lot and using legs a lot more. Now we focus a lot on kata. Kata is the backbone of our system, and a lot of stuff's close range. And elbows, locks, throws, grabs, chokes, stamps, knees, bites, things like that. And it seems much more natural now. I can do that all day, all night, and wake up the next day and do it again, without any major issues. And when you look back at the old karate masters, old men still training every day and stuff, they're not doing big, high, fancy kicks and crazy training. They're training in close, and they're far more bang for their buck. It's far more effective, and there's far more intricacy at that closer range, and a lot more to learn and study. I find it fascinating every time I train.
Yeah, it is kind of. Somebody said today to me on Facebook that the learning and discovering new stuff and karate is like trying to flip the circle on the other side or something like that. So it kind of never ending. Are you finding that you constantly learning, or did you reach your?
Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah. And again, I suppose going back to the taking the style out of it and not just training in a certain style and training with other people, it just opens up the learning curve massively. It helps you look from outside the box in. People, I've spent a lot of time training with a good friend of mine, Russell Jarmisty. Now, Russell runs a fantastic gym down in Manchester. He's done the doors for years. He's a right hardy guy. He's controversial on Facebook. He's a funny guy as well. He's more of a martial artist or more of a karate guy than he'll ever admit. When he does when he's training, when he's fighting, when he's doing his drills, when we're in his club, when we're on seminars and stuff, all I see is karate kata. He'll never admit that, but his textbook kata application, the way it should be done, he just doesn't know it yet. Or he does know it, but he won't admit it. He's strong jiu-jitsu background and karate background. At the time, he thought karate didn't work for him till he looks at jiu-jitsu. And then when you see what he does now, it's karate is what I see. I was lucky to train through a good friend of mine who's no longer with us, Paul Smith, Kung Fu guy from Scotland. He had strong links with Mal Morney from the Silat. I went and had a couple of training sessions with Mal, and just light bulb after light bulb after light bulb. And I came away thinking, that's what that move is, and that kata, that works so much better than anything I've ever done. He's got a fluidity about him. There's a strength and power about it that you wouldn't normally know. Likewise, training with others. Steve Lowe's great. Ian Abernethy, Patrick McCarthy. I could list, looking at even your stuff, Les and Matt, people I respect, Chris Denwood, a whole load of people I get something from. I've forgotten what the question is now, actually. There's lots of little bits that you have to kind of look outside the box and look in, and it's about constant learning. And I still feel a complete beginner. There's a fear of trying to learn too much, but everything that I do take away tends to fit into enhancing something that I already do, if that makes sense. Rather, like I said earlier, I've cut down the amount of katas that we do, and we try and go deeper in them, rather than adding another kata on to learn. I'll take those principles that these guys have done, whatever, and I'll go back and look at the existing katas, and I'll go, oh, that makes far more sense and works far better than what I thought it did before. And that's how my learning has grown now. Then we test it in the club amongst all the different people and sizes and get them to do it. And if they all manage it pretty much nice and easy, then that kind of ratifies what we're doing. And it's constant learning. Learning.
You mentioned two people that I was planning to go on seminars last year, and I don't think so it's gonna happen. Pat McCarthy and Mal Murray. I'm really enjoying watching Mal's stuff. His quality of movement is extraordinary. It must be genetics. It must be genetic. People don't move like that.
I know. I hate him. Absolutely hate him. He's lucky. He's a very, very capable guy as well. I mean, I don't know him that well. I've only trained a couple of times with him. I was really friendly with his host, Paul Smith, who used to come down to our club a lot, and I've known him for years. And Mal was getting that introduction and training with him. It was eye-opening. Just the fluidity of the guy, the power, very, very strong and powerful. He moves well, moves very well.
And he seems very genuinely nice guy.
Yeah.
How you go about him, I think.
No, he's very family orientated. He's very polite, mannerly, very focused when he's teaching and training. He won't stand for not putting effort in. He'll tell you, come on guys, we're martial artists, bit harder, which I like. But he's very articulate. Doesn't get dragged into internet arguments and stuff. He's a lot of respect from him.
And the other one was the Pat McCarthy, but the traveling is banned. I know you know Pat, you training. I never met him before. He seems to be genuinely nice guy as well.
He is, yeah. Actually, I was talking to, we were messaging back and forward yesterday, last night about something. He's moving out he's in Japan just now. He's going to be settling in Okinawa. Lovely chap. He's one of these guys. I know Mike talks quite a bit about him. He was the reason I got in touch with Patrick initially, made contact with him, was off the back of training with Ian. Ian opened the door to application for me and gave me a structure of understanding kata, in particular pinans and those principles, and putting that into a system, a way of decoding, a way of working, a way of training, and a way of exploring. And we had Ian up at the club lots of times. I train him lots. I always still, whenever I can, I go to his seminars and refresh. And he was fantastic at that. And then there was a bit that I needed a wee bit more. I needed to understand a wee bit more about the background of how the katas were created initially, which I thought was the next logical step. And I'd followed Patrick for years, read the Bubishi, and followed his research work for years. And the Koro Uchinadi system that he has of 2-partner drills, it was something that was of real interest. And I had a few of his DVDs and things. And I thought, now the time's right now for me to get in touch with the guy and see if we can get him over from Australia to come and teach rather than learning off a DVD. I got to a stage where I felt the time was right. He's an icon. He's way up here. And I thought he won't be interested with me. He'll have an ego. He'll only talk to, 6th, 7th, 8th dans or whatever. And that was my perception. Couldn't have been further from the truth. Lovely guy. He fitted us in when he was over doing his tour. He came and stayed with us. He fell in love with Ayrshire, this part of the country. We had a great time. We walked, we talked, we trained, we ate, we drank. We just got on really well. He is a fountain of knowledge and very open about it. He's there to share. And very, very capable, and he's done everything. He's been a hard karate trainer all his days, with kung fu originally and then karate. He knows everybody. He's been in this room here, and we're looking through one of the books, and he said, "Oh yeah, I know him, I know his dad." It's all the Okinawan masters and stuff. Just a very charismatic guy. So yeah, if you get a chance to train with him, he's got some really good guys in the UK that are part of his group. And Europe that are very, very good instructors as well and very knowledgeable. And what we did, we got him over a few times, and we took the bits and bobs out, the bits of the jigsaw that I needed, and we keep that relationship going, and added some bits to the syllabus. But again, I'm conscious of not just grabbing stuff and putting it in for the sake of putting it in. It's got to fit what we're doing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be Masashi. It would be part Patrick and part Ian.
Yeah.
And, it's got to be what fits me. What's my karate?
It's funny you say that you've been thinking that he will not talk to you. I had the same thing with writing first to Ian. It's like, the guy is busy.
With who? Sorry?
With the fear of that he's not gonna be talking to you because you're some guy in UK, Patrick.
All right.
And I had the same thing with Ian. Why Ian would talk to the guy who just migrated and farther from the truth.
Do you know the first time I ever spoke to Ian? Oh, it was years and years and years ago. Before I'd been to a seminar, I'd bought a couple of his DVDs. I'd ordered one of his DVDs, the first one. This goes back years, or was it his book? I can't remember. It was one of the things, and I was at work in Glasgow, and my phone went. I picked up the phone. Hello, Jamie Gray. Hi, it's Ian Abernethy here. Your card payment hasn't gone through. Oh, right, Ian. That's okay. It's probably something I've done wrong at the site. And I chatted away to him, and I thought, that was Ian Abernethy. I didn't expect that. He's way up here. He's such a nice guy. Really nice guy. Yeah, I was the same.
I think most of the people who are successful in a field of karate or whatever other field, and they are not insecure, they're genuinely nice because there's no need to not be.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that. Absolutely. And that makes a difference. And I think the days, again, this goes back to the old days of before communication was a lot easier. And, people at the top of the tree in associations would say, oh, no, I know all this. I'm not teaching you that until you're such and such a Dan. Or this is for instructors, or you can't learn this and you can, and I'll show you the secret meaning to this. It's a load of rubbish. And you just can't get away with that nowadays. And I think right from the start, these guys, Russell, Ian, Steve, Patrick, you yourself, Matt, open sharing, the giving, and the pushing back, and the learning, and the knowledge, and the camaraderie that goes along with it, brings people together more than it pushes them away. And it's how it should be. It's how the art's going to continue to evolve. You know, people like yourself doing what you're doing. Me, I'm quite happy just going along with the ride.
What are your plans after the lockdown's finishing? We got it all vaccinated and move back to the normal. What's your plans?
Hit people. Hit people and be hit. You know, I can't wait. You know, that sounds so bonkers, but actually to be able to smash somebody and get smashed back, get thrown, land on the ground, meet up with our club and actually train, you know, and have hands-on people. And it's going to be bonkers the first week. It's going to be disastrous. You know, we're going to have so many injuries. We're going to try and be as calm as we can. But the whole club, the whole guy, all the guys, all the group are really keen just to get back, because 95% of the stuff we did in the class was, involved contact or touching, and everybody really, really misses it. I want to get out and go and train with more people. I'd love to come down, be able to make it down to one of the Craft for Mental Health seminars. I've not managed it yet. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get down to one of them and meet up with with yourself again and some of your guys. And yeah, just get back to that normality of every 4 to 6 weeks going away and training, and just having my guys in the club and training. What about yourself? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward as well to be thrown and do some contact training. I'm missing that a lot, and traveling and seeing people. You know, I've got. I'm meant to go in April to see Christian Wedewald.
All right, nice.
There.
Yeah, he looks really good.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's gonna happen. He hopefully will be able to come here in October to do seminar with me.
Yeah.
I'm meant to have.
I've got one of his books up here. Oh, what's that one? Oh.
Thank you.
Very good book. I've another one, I believe, is a Christmas present that's coming. I haven't seen that one yet, though.
I see you've got the other women book there.
Oh yeah. All the wee books are there as well. You know, the wee man's books.
You know why they are all the size?
Yeah, I noticed that.
So we can pick them up.
Well, that's why you and Matt wouldn't be able to lift all of these three in your own, would you? Right. You know, these are all Matt and oh, do you know, outside my dojo, I've got 2 wee statues guarding the door, and I call them Matt, Matt and Les.
Yeah, I've seen the picture. It brought my attention to it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Where people can find your dojo? I suppose Facebook is the best.
Yeah. This is something. Somebody. Right. This is going to seem really, really weird. I'm not looking for new students or anything. I don't want people to find me. I had a conversation. I get contacted every now and then from local people wanting to join karate because they maybe know somebody or where's the local club, blah blah blah. I've got a wee group now. It's more a study group than anything else of us, and we haven't taken anyone new for a few years. And when we have, we've kind of made them wait for quite a few months and see if they're really interested and keen. One recently I made to wait for 4 months, and he's currently a third dan. You know, he was a third dan with another club. He wanted to join us, because when we start bringing new people in, I have to start going back to the beginning again and saying, like I say, we don't do it for money. We don't do it for competition. I don't need a big club. We've got a good group. I've got people coming down, 40, 50 miles to train with me and stuff. And we've got a nice setup. So we can Facebooks where I'm happy to engage with people, happy for visitors. But I don't necessarily want people join and that sounds really strange and really obtuse.
I was gonna say the 50th podcast, and the first guest who says, "Fuck off, all you people. We don't want you."
It's
brilliant.
But the honesty is,
yeah,
I'm quite happy. I've got a good balance just now of my training, my personal training. Well, obviously not with the club at the moment, but before the lockdown. and the people I've got are the people I want to develop with and move on. And when the time's right, we'll maybe open the doors again and say, right, we want some more in. Or if people are really interested and have some background or just seem to be a good fit to our group at the moment, then they can come on. And I'm not being discriminatory about anyone. Like I said before, we've got all different ages and abilities, and some with disabilities that are training with me. It's just there's so much work to be done with the group that I've got. We don't do it for money. I don't need people to come in the door to pay the bills. It's a nice position to be in, and we will every now and then, if it's the right person, we'll add them to the group and do it. But they can Facebook's probably we actually took down our website because we didn't want people contacting us. How weird is that?
I think it's a great
Scotsman.
I think it's a great position to be in if you've got that clear way of you want to do, stick to it, and I think it's great.
Yeah, like I said before, I'm not a great teacher. I don't have like you mentioned, like the skills for being a good teacher. I don't know what these are. Karate has always been very personal for me, and I've been lucky that people have wanted to come and join and do what I do and get the bits out of them. That's the way I look at it. Every time I go, I'm training and they're joining on to what I'm doing and the path I'm going, and they seem happy with it. But there's far better instructors in the area, far better, that will bring them on, 3-4 year old or whatever, and work their way up through and give them the competitions, give them the weapons, give them the whatever they want to do, kind of thing. That I think general people who have no martial knowledge are maybe looking for. I'm probably not the right person to set them to.
Hi, Jenny. It was a huge pleasure to talk to you as always. Thank you for not picking on me too much on my height.
We're not finished yet.
Now I'm going to have to go and pick up the terrorists from the nursery. It was a pleasure. Thank you for joining me on my 50th
fantastic
episode. It should be live this Friday.
Oh, wow.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I've had a great time. Fantastic. Thank you very much again. It's been great having a chat with you, and I hope to meet up in person soon.
Yeah, I hope
if I can see you, I'll bring my glasses. There we go.
Yeah, I'll bring my ladder.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Jamie. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Bye-bye.
Bye.
How do I stop this thing?